I don't know how many people I've talked to who are like, I just can't, there's not enough time for me to like do the things I'm best at. It's like, I started this business to be a coach, or I started this business to be, you know, doing this stuff with clients, or I started this business because I love, thinking of someone in particular, like I love early childhood education, and I'd love to be able to stay up on industry trends, and I'd love to be able to do all of those things, and it's like, I don't even have time to do that anymore. We all only have 168 hours in a week.
That's the number, yeah.
Yeah, it's like the title of the book, I think, 168 hours. And you know, we all only have 168 hours, and so if that's the case, then, I mean, number one, that's good news. It's actually good news, because someone who's at 500K and someone who's at 500 million has exactly the same 168 hours, which means that time actually isn't the thing that's stopping you from getting to whatever your revenue goal is.
Yeah.
And so this isn't what we planned. We didn't talk about this at all when we did the previous.
No, not really.
The previous
we kind of touched on it.
But I think it's really important to know that so many people come to us and like, there's not enough time, and they're like, I can't grow my business. I don't have time to grow my business.
Rather, I don't have time to do the things that I think I need to grow my business.
Yeah,
but yes.
Right? Or if I go and grow my business, then I'm not going to have time to do the other stuff, right? And we create this zero-sum game because there only is 168 hours. But it can't be true, right? It can't be true that there's not enough time, because if that were the case, no one would be making more money than you are, right? Like if you only had if you only had enough time to make $500,000 or $600,000 or $800,000 or however much money you're making, if that was truly the amount of time that you have, and you have no more time, and you can't grow beyond it because time is your problem,
then no businesses would ever go beyond it.
Yeah, like there can be no such thing as a $500 million business. So it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Right? And this is where the idea of like buying time and hiring people and all of that comes into play. And then what we hear from people is that it's like, I have hired all these people, I've delegated to all of them, but I don't have enough time to do the stuff that I want. Like my team needs too much from me.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
I don't have enough time to train them is another one that I hear quite a lot.
Yeah, like it'd be faster for me to do it myself.
Yeah.
I don't have time to train them. I've tried training them, and it still takes them, way too long to do stuff. Like it's time, right? Everyone has this thing about time.
Yeah, this whole thing about, making time. And that's, like we said, a lot of our clients come to us with that, and they don't feel like not only that they don't have enough of it, but they don't get to spend it doing the things they want to do.
Right. So like the example, now I can't remember who was in this live or the previous one, but I think it was in this live where we said like the woman who started her business and, wants to be able to stay up on what's going on in the industry, wants to be able to continue improving, wants to stay on the leading edge. And she says, I don't have enough time to do that. And the thing is that every moment that you tell yourself that, you are perpetuating that as reality, right? Every time you tell yourself, I don't have enough time to do X, that creates that exact situation, because you're like, oh, I don't have time to do it. So what happens? Well, you don't do the thing because you're telling yourself, I don't have enough time to do it.
So you squish in everything else.
You go do other stuff, right? Whereas if you're like, I don't have, okay, so here's the logic that people don't do. I don't have time to do X, so I'm going to do X, right? Like people don't do that. I don't have time to write that email, so I'm going to write that email right now.
Mm-hmm.
What we say is, I don't have time to write that email, so I'm going to go and pick up my kids and do the laundry and have breakfast and rewrite the sales page and have a client call. And like we say, I don't have time to write the email because I've got all of these other things to do. Yeah. Whereas if we said, I have time to write the email, just like I have time to do all those other things, then we would do it, right? So it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And the thing is that we forget, or maybe we don't know. I like to think that we forget that we choose how to spend our time. Time doesn't choose us, we choose it, right? And so you are choosing to prioritize one thing over another. And where we get wrapped up in this is that we think that other people or other situations or circumstances can put things on our list that we have to do, right? Like we were talking about this before. It's like, I hate it when people put I hate it when people put things on my calendar. And it's like, no one can make you do anything. It doesn't even matter if it's on your calendar, for one.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, oh, it's on my calendar. That doesn't mean you have to do it. You don't have to obey your calendar. And many people don't. And that's part of a challenge, right? But this idea, I don't like people putting things on my calendar. I mean, if I put something on your calendar and you don't want to do it, actually, it's the other way around. If you put something on my calendar and I don't want to do it, what happens?
Generally, you come to me and you say, why did you put this on my calendar?
Right.
For one.
But it's like, not, you don't have the ability to put stuff on my calendar.
I do,
but it doesn't force me to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And even if it is, it's like, hey, can you, maybe you're on a call with someone and they want to have a meeting with me. So you message me and like, hey, will you have a meeting with this person? And I say, sure. And you say, okay, I'll put together a calendar invite and send it out to everyone. And it's like, you're putting it on my calendar, but I'm the one who's choosing to let you do that.
Yeah.
Just as like you could send me a meeting invite and I can decline it, right? Mm-hmm. You can't tell me how to spend my time. Only I can do that.
Yeah, I can't make time on you for you.
You can't make me do things with my time.
Yeah.
I think that's what you're trying to say.
It is.
And where we get tripped up in this is, think about how many times you go through your day and you're doing things because you think you have to do them.
Mm-hmm.
And the truth is, no one is making you do anything, right? You don't have to do anything. You don't, I think it's Brooke Castillo says, you don't have to eat. You don't have to bathe. You don't have to get out of bed. You don't have to pay your taxes. You don't have to engage with your children. You don't have to talk to your spouse. You don't have to do.
There's nothing you have to do.
You don't have to, right? There are a lot of people who choose not to do those. There are people who choose not to bathe. There are people who choose not to get out of bed. There are people who choose to ignore their children, right? There are people who choose not to pay taxes.
Lots of people.
And I'm not advocating for any of that, right? I'm not saying that's a good choice, but it's a choice. And what happens is that when we say, I have to do something, we give over all our power. And it's like, it's convenient because it means we never have to think about the consequences. Like we go on autopilot and we live life on autopilot. And it's like, I'm just not going to choose. Well, that is choosing.
Yeah.
But it's like, what are the consequences of, like, okay, really a ridiculous example. Like, you don't have to bathe was one of the examples, right? You don't have to bathe. So let's say you've got a really busy day and you have got a client call at 8:00 in the morning and you didn't sleep well last night. And so now it's like 7:30, you're jumping out of bed and you can either bathe or you can have the client call. I said it's a ridiculous example. It's a ridiculous example, but it's the best one I could come up with on the fly. Do you have to go on the client call? No. Like, you don't even have to let them, you could just no-show.
You could.
I'm not recommending this stuff.
I didn't say a word.
But you don't have to show up to the client call. No one's like forcing, you don't like poof, vanish, disappear if you don't. You also don't disappear, poof, vanish if you don't bathe, right? And so it's what we're doing when we're choosing time is when we do it consciously, we're evaluating the consequences. We're saying the consequences of missing that client call are better or worse than the consequences of, not showering this morning or whatever it happens to be. And maybe that's not a fair example because, or maybe it is. Some people might say, I'm bathing 100%. I don't miss that. The client call has to get rescheduled. And that would be a totally valid choice. Parents often run into this, right? Where it's like, I have to pay attention to my kid and I have a client call, and it's like this tension. I don't have time to do both of these things. And the truth is that you don't have to do either of them, but you get to choose where you want to put your time and attention. So being conscious that it's a choice is like the first step towards solution.
And not just that, it's like the choosing with the consequences. It's taking the responsibility.
Right. So it's like, first you have to be conscious that it's a choice.
Yeah.
And then second, be conscious of the real consequences of not doing the thing. Because people don't think about this. And so we make up all these stories like, if I don't have a shower, I'm going to poof disappear and my life is over. I don't know. Like, I will admit, I have skipped a shower. You know, at least once in my life, I have not showered. And I'm still here, right? Like, it didn't kill me. I have skipped a meal before, right? I have rescheduled a client. I have outright canceled client calls. Guess what? We're still here. Business is still here. Like, life goes on. And we're so afraid of the consequences that we never actually ask what is a realistic consequence.
Oh, we're afraid of the time.
Okay, tell me more about that. What do you mean we're afraid of the time?
You said before, and I agree with you, we have this perception that time is done to us.
Yeah.
Right? That time has to be made to, right?
Yeah, I have to make time to do X, or I need to spend time doing whatever.
Exactly. And we're actually, in a lot of ways, I almost think that we're afraid of the time, because if we weren't afraid of the time, then we'd be able to go and we'd be able to look at it and say, okay, this is something that I choose to do really easily, because it's making that choice, it's taking that responsibility.
Well, I think what happens, and maybe people aren't afraid of the time, but they're aware that time is a scarce resource and that we can't make more of it. And so rather than making conscious choices about how to spend the time, we just choose not to make choices at all.
Yeah.
And we let it happen. Yeah, let it happen instead of being conscious and choosing it.
Exactly.
And I hear people who say like, oh, I've tried putting on my things on my calendar and I've tried like following it. It doesn't work for me. It's nonsense, right? It is, because you're just choosing to say it doesn't work for me, right? You can do the work to say, I'm going to do this, and keeping my word to myself is more important. Or you can choose not to, right? It's just a matter of evaluating your consequences.
And consciously doing it, right? Like it's making the choice, here we go again, to consciously evaluate it rather than just, again, letting it happen to you.
Well, and then being willing to accept the consequences of whatever that choice is, but being realistic about that. Because most of us never actually are realistic about what the consequences will be, right? So we say, oh, I feel too busy. Well, that's because you're choosing to do things that make you feel busy. And if you feel like you don't have the time to do the things that you want, it's because you're choosing to spend that time doing things you don't want instead. And so it's like, number one, be aware that it's a choice. Number two, decide what you want to be doing. And then number three, do those things. Like, it sounds so simple, and people struggle with it so much that they don't want it to be true, I think. Right? We don't want it to be true that the solution to all of your time problems is to recognize that how your time is being spent is a choice, to figure out what you want to do, and then do those things. Because you do not have to do anything else. Now, the thing is, within that is to realize that you don't have to do anything. Therefore, you choose to do everything. So if you're working on things that you don't want to be working on, that's because you're choosing to do so. If you are making sure that you're done work at every day by 3 o'clock so you can go pick your kid up from school, you're choosing to do that. If you are saying, I'm only going to work 20 hours a week, and that means my business is going to, grow more slowly or whatever it happens to be, you're choosing to do that, right? So what is the actual consequence? What is the consequence of not updating your website? What is the consequence of not emailing your list? What is the consequence of any of these things? Just because you think you need to do it doesn't mean that, like, it's trade-offs. Is it higher value to spend your time here? Is it higher value to spend your time there? Choose what you want to do ahead of time and then do those things. and don't let yourself off the hook. And that's the thing, is people let themselves off the hook, right? They're like,
All the
oh, I
time.
can't, or, you know, oh, it doesn't work for me. All you're saying is that you are choosing to give away your power, that you're choosing not to have integrity with yourself.
Well, I think that you choosing to give away your power is such a definite for me. Like, that's so empowering to take back control of your time.
Yeah, what was the quote that I've shared it on Postbook?
Postbook.
I posted it on Facebook last week or week before, and it was basically this idea that we think that freedom is when we just have open calendars and nothing to do and that kind of stuff. But actually what freedom is when we don't have to answer to anyone but ourselves, and we always like the answer, right? So we think that freedom is, I don't have to answer to anyone, and that's not true. No. Freedom is when I answer to myself and only myself, and I always like the answer that I get back. I always like the answer that I give myself. That's what freedom actually is.